every economy grow, and then suddenly crash. Booms, recessions, recoveries. This pattern repeats in every economy. No matter how strong it looks, GDP rises, jobs increase, confidence grows, and then suddenly growth slowdowns. So, what causes this rise and fall? Why doesn't GDP grow forever? In this video, I'll break down the business cycle step by step using one simple diagram and real world examples so you can clearly understand expansion, recession, and recovery. By the end, you'll never look at the economic growth the same way again. What we look at the screen right now is what actually our economy looks like. The GDP, the actual growth rate looks like. It's rising, it's falling, it's reaching its peak, it's going down to a trough, leading to recession. A lot of changes are happening at the same time. Looking at the business phase cycles, we're looking at a trough, which is this particular part which is visible to us, the downfall. At trough, how does the economy look like? The GDP growth rate is negative, unemployment is high, inflation is decreasing, and confidence, which is the consumer confidence, is low. This trough, if sustains for a longer period of time, as we call it, a negative economic growth for 2 consecutive quarters, it leads to the problem of recession, where GDP growth rate is minimum, unemployment is high, inflation is low, and confidence is very low. But if government intervenes, if the market functions appropriately, there are chances that this recession can turn into an expansion, taking the economy a bit high, or the GDP growth rate, as we call it, a bit high, as to what it was visible to us earlier, where GDP growth is increasing, unemployment is falling, inflation is moderate, and consumer confidence is high. If this sustains for a longer period of time, it can lead to what we call it a peak, which is an ideal stage for every economy to be at, but not very fascinating because the opportunity cost visible is high inflation. The GDP growth rate is at its maximum, employment is full, confidence is very high. This is what we call a business cycle. Economy is at times in a recession, at times it's expanding, it's reaching a peak. A lot of changes are visible in the economy at the same time. Let's look at the key economic indicators like real GDP, unemployment rate, inflation rate, consumer confidence, investment spending, and how interest rates are affected when different phases of business cycle are visible in the economy. At the time of expansion, the real GDP is rising, unemployment rate is pretty much in control and can be said as falling, and inflation rate is pretty much in control, and 2% inflation rate is very much accepted by the countries throughout the globe. The minute it reaches peak, the real GDP rises from 20 to 23 trillion, unemployment rate falls, and inflation rate rises. As visible, the inflation is going to be high at peak. The minute we move ahead to recession, at this particular point, we see unemployment rate rising to 6.8%, the real GDP falling, consumer confidence as well pretty much falling, and the inflation rate is again falling. At trough, pretty much similar to recession, unemployment rate is falling, real GDP is pretty much falling, inflation rate is falling, and consumer confidence again is falling. So all the indicators are pretty much affected when different phases of business cycle are visible. Different policies which can be used by the government during the peak and the trough session or during the times of recession, which is fiscal and monetary policy. There'll be a different video which will cover fiscal and monetary policy in depth as they are demand side policies. But for now, we can know that fiscal policy is controlled by the government and includes tools like taxes and expenditure, whereas monetary policy is controlled by the central bank and includes tools like control of money supply and interest rate. Regarding the discussion we've had around business cycle, what characterizes the peak phase of the business cycle, the maximum output and high inflation, rising unemployment and falling GDP, recovery and moderate growth, stable prices and full employment. You can think about it, try to recall our discussion. Stable prices and full employment. Yes, full employment is a part of peak, but the prices are not stable. The prices are very high. So this option will not be considered. Recovery and moderate growth. Recovery and moderate growth are pretty much part of your expansion. Rising unemployment and falling GDP is very much part of your recession. So left is maximum output and high inflation. This is what can be considered as peak. Talking about the real world example, a sharp and a very short recession was visible during the COVID-19 crisis, where global GDP fell almost by 3.5%. Jobs were being lost, inflation was falling, price levels were falling, consumer confidence was falling, government intervened with stimulus packages, unemployment benefits, central bank tried to reduce the interest rate to increase consumer spending, and this very much was visible when negative economic growth was consistent for two consecutive quarters. Thank you. If you like our content, please like, subscribe, and share.